Setting up a Hello World MERN project. We have all our folders set up in our server, so let's create a new controller. We're going to call this person.controller.js. Now, the reason we're doing this is because we're eventually going to turn this project into a CRM type project that has people we can create, retrieve, update, and delete. So for the time being though, we can just module.exports index, and we're going to have a request response. And all we'll do is send back a JSON response of hello world, okay? And there will be some message. That's all we need for our controller. So let's go to our routes, and I'm going to write person.routes.js. And the reason we're adding this .routes.controller is that when we have a bunch of tabs open, it'll be easy to say, oh, this is the controller. We could do controllers and call this person.js, and then within routes, person.js. But then you're going to have a lot of person.js open at the top. But you can do what you would like. Now we're going to require our person controller controllers person.controller. And we'll just module.exports a function. And within here is where we're going to put all of our routes. So what we're saying is when we go to /API, we want to run this index method in our controller. Now within our server.js, we're just going to actually require all of our routes. So we can write require server routes person.routes. Send an app. Now we can test it by running nodemon server.js. Let's see if it's working. If we go to Postman and I make a GET request to /API, we see this message, hello world. So our API is working. Perfect. Now let's look at the back end, or the front end. Let's create a new terminal. I'm going to cd into client and install Axios. This is so we can make requests more easily in our client. So for organization purposes, I'm going to close all of our server code. I'm going to open client. I'm going to create a new component called main. Let me import React. We're going to need use effect. Sorry about that. And use state from React. We're also going to import Axios from Axios. All right. Within here, we're going to create a simple functional component. And this functional component will have a message, set message, that we will actually be using use state. And by default, we'll make message equal to loading. We'll also make a use effect. And within here is where we're going to make a call to our API. So we're going to say axios.get, because it's a GET request, http://localhost 8000/API. Then we have our response, and we can say set message to response.data.message. Because the response.data is what's being sent back, and we're accessing the message. Also, since we're making a call to an API, we only want to do it on the first render, so we'll have the empty array. Now, let's return message from the back end, message, and in our app.js, if you haven't already, delete all of the JSX between the two divs, and we'll just use main. And we can import main from main. I'm going to actually run start, and this will then run our React project. It's going to take a second. But once it starts running, we should be able to see this main.js that says message from the back end. And let's open our browser and try to go to localhost 3000. Looks like it's still loading. Go back, and it says message from the back end loading. So what does this tell us? It means that there's some issue and it doesn't look like it's actually getting the data from the API because it's just loading. So this is where we're going to do a little bit extra configuration by installing cores in our server. So let me stop running the server, and I'm going to npm install cores. While this is installing, I'm going to go to my server.js, and all I need to do is write app.use cores. And I'm going to require cores up here. Now that I have that, I can now nodemon server again, come over here, and if I refresh, we'll see loading really quickly and hello world. So now we can make requests from our React project.